In a galaxy far away, the Galactic Empire ruled with an iron fist. Their ships flew through the stars, their soldiers were fierce, and their technology was unmatched. But there was one problem. The Empire could not control Earth. The humans were unpredictable, clever, and full of surprises. The leaders of the Empire gathered in a dark, cold room on their flagship, the Imperial Dreadnought. Holograms of alien generals flickered above a long table, their faces tense and worried. High Commander Zalthor slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot let Earth continue to defy us. They are becoming a threat to our rule. We must act quickly." Zalthor was known for his ruthless tactics. He had defeated many worlds and brought them under the Empire's control. But Earth was different. Humans had a spirit that could not be easily crushed. The other generals nodded, fear and frustration on their faces. "What do you suggest, Commander?" asked General Vrex, his eyes narrowing. "They are not like the other worlds we have conquered. Their leaders are strong and their people are brave." Zalthor leaned forward, a cruel smile creeping across his lips. "We will send our best assassins. They will strike at the heart of humanity. If we eliminate their leaders, the rest will fall in line." The room fell silent. The idea hung in the air, heavy with danger. Assassins were the Empire's most skilled killers, trained to move unseen and strike without mercy. They could take down any target, no matter how protected. General Trixa, a sharp-eyed strategist, raised an eyebrow. "But what if they fail? Humans are unpredictable. We must be careful." Zalthor waved her off. "These are the best of the best. They have never failed a mission. We will send them to Earth and watch as they bring us victory." The generals exchanged glances, a mixture of fear and excitement. They all knew the risks, but they also understood the power of the Empire. Sending assassins to Earth could change everything. Meanwhile, on Earth, a young intelligence officer named Sarah watched the stars from her small office. She worked for the Global Defense Agency, a secret organization dedicated to protecting Earth from threats. As she scanned the universe with her telescope, she felt a strange sense of unease. Something was coming and it did not feel good. Sarah was smart and quick-witted. She had a knack for noticing patterns and predicting danger. For weeks, she had been tracking unusual movements in space. Ships were flying towards Earth at incredible speeds. She had alerted her superiors, but they had brushed her off, believing that it was just another space anomaly. "Nothing to worry about," they had said. "Just a few meteors or satellites? We have nothing to fear." But Sarah knew better. Her instincts told her that this was different. She began to dig deeper, searching for information about the ships. She connected with her sources, gathering data from different points around the world. One night, while reviewing the latest reports, she came across a video feed from a satellite. It showed several alien ships approaching Earth. Her heart raced as she zoomed in on the vessels. They were sleek, dark, and menacing. This was not a casual visit. They were coming with a purpose. As she studied the ships, she noticed something unusual. There was a familiar emblem on the side of one ship, the symbol of the Galactic Empire. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Empire was known for its brutality and desire for control. They had tried to invade Earth before and had failed. Now it seemed they were back with a new plan. With determination, Sarah sprang into action. She gathered her team and presented the evidence. "We have a serious threat approaching. The Galactic Empire is sending assassins to eliminate our leaders. We need to warn everyone and prepare for an attack." Her team exchanged worried glances. They knew the Empire's reputation and the fear it instilled across the galaxy. Sarah continued, "If we don't act quickly, we could lose everything." The team agreed to her plan. They started by alerting the highest levels of government and military. They prepared defenses, set up alerts, and began tracking the alien ships as they neared Earth. But Sarah knew they needed something more than just defenses. They needed a secret weapon, something the Empire would never expect. As she sat at her desk, her mind raced. Then she remembered the stories, the tales of a figure so terrifying that it struck fear into the hearts of everyone. A creature that had become a legend.
"Michael Myers," she whispered to herself. The name echoed in her mind. Myers was known for his relentless pursuit and unmatched strength. He was a character from horror films, but what if there was a way to turn that myth into reality? Sarah decided to take a risk. She contacted a team of researchers who had been studying unusual human behavior and psychology. They had been trying to understand why humans were drawn to the fearsome tales of Michael Myers. They might be able to help. The researchers were skeptical at first, but Sarah explained the situation. We need to turn fear into strength. If we can find a way to channel the energy of Michael Myers, we can use that as our advantage. After a long discussion, they agreed to help. They began gathering information about Michael Myers and analyzing his story. They studied his characteristics and the traits that made him so terrifying. The goal was to create a training program that would harness that fear and turn it into something powerful. Meanwhile, the alien ships were getting closer. Time was running out. Sarah and her team worked day and night, trying to prepare for the worst. They knew they had to be ready when the assassins arrived. They needed to make sure that Earth would not be an easy target. As the days passed, Sarah began to feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She understood that the fate of Earth rested in her hands. She had to find a way to protect her planet from the impending doom. Then, on the eve of the attack, Sarah received a message. It was from the researchers. They had developed a plan to simulate the aura of Michael Myers, a way to channel the fear and strength associated with him. They believed it could be used to empower humans during the attack. Excitement filled Sarah as she read the message. This was it. They had a chance to turn the tide against the Galactic Empire. She quickly gathered her team and briefed them on the plan. This is our opportunity to fight back. We need to be ready to unleash the power of Michael Myers when the assassins arrive. That night, they prepared for battle. The researchers set up a training area where volunteers could learn to harness the energy of Michael Myers. Sarah watched as the first group of recruits entered the training area. She felt a mix of hope and fear. Would this truly work? As dawn broke, the alien ships finally reached Earth's atmosphere. The volunteers stood ready, waiting for the call to action. Sarah looked up at the sky, knowing that soon the Empire's assassins would be here. Little did the Empire know that Earth was not as weak as they thought. The humans were ready to defend their home, and they had a secret weapon that would surprise even the most skilled assassins. Michael Myers was not just a character in a story, he was about to become a symbol of hope and strength for humanity. The sun rose over Earth, casting warm light on the busy cities below. But the excitement and energy of the day hid a dark secret. Above the planet, several sleek alien ships glided silently through the sky, ready to carry out the Galactic Empire's deadly mission. Inside one of the ships, the lead assassin, Kaller, reviewed the mission details. He was a tall alien with sharp features and cold blue skin. His reputation as an assassin was known across the galaxy. He had completed many missions without fail. Kaller's eyes gleamed with confidence as he spoke to his team. Today, we will show these humans the power of the Empire. They will tremble at our might. His team, composed of 3 other assassins, nodded in agreement. They were all highly trained killers, armed with advanced weapons and gadgets that could make them invisible. They had come to Earth to eliminate the leaders who stood in the way of the Empire's rule. The assassins were excited about their mission, believing it would be easy. As they prepared to land, Kaller briefed his team on their first target, a small town where a key leader had gathered to discuss Earth's defenses. This leader is a threat to us. He has gathered people to protect Earth. We will strike quickly and leave no trace. The ship descended silently, landing in a dark alley just outside the town. The assassins stepped out, blending into the shadows. Their sleek uniforms helped them move unseen, and they quickly made their way toward the gathering.
In the town square, people were gathering for a meeting. The leader, a tall man named President Carter, stood on a stage addressing the crowd. He spoke passionately about the need for unity and strength. "We must stand together! The Empire thinks they can intimidate us, but we are not afraid!" As the crowd cheered, the assassins moved closer. Kaller ordered his team to take their positions. They were ready to strike, but then something unexpected happened. In the distance, they heard a faint sound, a low, haunting music that sent chills down their spines. "What is that?" one of the assassins whispered. Kaller scowled, trying to focus on the mission. "Ignore it. We have a job to do." But the music grew louder, and the atmosphere changed. A sense of dread filled the air. Just then, the crowd erupted into panic. People screamed and scattered as a figure appeared from the shadows. It was Michael Myers, wearing his infamous mask and jumpsuit, moving with an eerie calmness. He walked toward the stage, the haunting music playing around him. The assassins were taken aback. They had heard stories about this human, a monster from tales who never backed down and always got what he wanted. Kaler clenched his jaw, feeling a mix of fear and anger. "No one is supposed to be here!" he shouted. Michael's presence was overwhelming. The crowd had never seen anything like him before. The music seemed to give him strength, making him appear larger than life. People stood frozen, unable to look away from the terrifying figure. Kalar realized they needed to act fast. "We cannot let him interfere! Take him down!" He and his team rushed toward Michael, weapons drawn. But the legendary figure was faster than they anticipated. As they charged, Michael moved with deadly precision. He grabbed one assassin and threw him aside like a rag doll. The others hesitated, unsure of how to approach someone so relentless. Kalar cursed under his breath. "Focus! We are assassins. We cannot be scared of a human." The fight erupted in chaos. Michael lunged at the remaining assassins, his movements fluid and terrifying. One of the assassins fired their weapon, but it missed, and Michael dodged easily. He was a force of nature, and the assassins quickly realized they were not prepared for this fight. One by one, Michael picked them off. He disarmed another assassin, using their own weapon against them. The crowd watched in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. They had expected an attack from the Empire, but instead, they were witnessing a fight between legends. Kalar finally regained his composure. He knew he had to outsmart Michael. "Retreat!" he shouted, signaling his team. They began to back away, trying to regroup. But Michael was relentless, following them with chilling determination. As they reached the edge of the crowd, Kalar spotted an escape route. "We need to get to the ship. Now!" He led the way, but Michael was close behind. The crowd parted, watching in awe as the terrifying figure chased the assassins. Kalar and his team made it to their ship, panting and desperate. They climbed inside, quickly sealing the doors. But Michael was right outside, pounding on the metal with an eerie strength. Kalar looked at his team, fear evident in his eyes. "What do we do now? We can't let him inside. Activate the cloaking device." Another assassin shouted, frantically pressing buttons on the control panel. The ship's lights flickered as it became invisible, but Michael showed no signs of stopping. He continued to slam his fists against the hull, determined to break through. Inside the ship, tension filled the air. The assassins watched in disbelief as Michael seemed to sense their presence. Kalar felt a shiver run down his spine. "We must leave this place. The Empire will not tolerate failure." As the ship rose into the sky, Kalar glanced down at the chaos below. People were still running, terrified of what they had just witnessed. The sight of Michael Myers, a human monster, had left a lasting impression. "We must report back to the Empire," he said, determination in his voice. "This was only the first target. We cannot let fear stop us. We will regroup and return." The ship soared into the clouds, leaving the town behind. Inside, the assassins were silent, each lost in their thoughts. Kalar knew they had to come up with a new plan. The humans had shown unexpected strength, and Michael Myers was unlike any foe they had faced before. Back on Earth, Sarah and her team watched the alien ship disappear into the sky. They had seen the chaos unfold in the town square. Sarah's heart raced as she realized that Michael had done the impossible. He had fought off the Empire's assassins. "Did you see that?" One of her teammates exclaimed, excitement in their voice. "He actually defeated them." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "This is just the beginning. If Michael can face them, we can harness that power and prepare for the next attack." She looked at her team, determination shining in her eyes. "We need to train harder. We must be ready for whatever the Empire sends next." The team quickly gathered their resources, preparing for a counterattack. They began training sessions, teaching others how to channel their fear into strength, just like Michael. The stories of his legend spread, inspiring hope among the people. Meanwhile, Kalar and his team returned to the Imperial Dreadnought, shaken by their failure. The dark room was filled with tension as they reported to High Commander Zalthor. "We encountered an unexpected threat," Kalar began, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. A human named Michael Myers stopped us from completing our mission. Zolthor's eyes narrowed. Michael Myers? I have heard tales of him. A figure of horror for humans. But he is just a man. How could he stop our assassins? Kalar swallowed hard. He is not just a man. He fights with a strength we did not expect. We must come up with a new plan. We cannot underestimate him or the humans again. Zolthor slammed his fist on the table. We will not fail again. Prepare the next wave of assassins. This time, we will take down Michael Myers and eliminate the leaders of Earth once and for all. As Kalar left the room, he felt a mix of fear and determination. The battle was far from over. They had lost this round, but the Empire was relentless, and soon they would return to face the humans again. The air was thick with tension as news of the assassins' defeat spread across Earth. The townspeople whispered in fear about Michael Myers, the man who had become a symbol of hope and terror. Some called him a hero, while others feared him as a monster. Michael had become a legend overnight. In a small room, Sarah gathered her team to discuss the next steps. We need to prepare for the Empire's return, she said, her voice steady. We can't rely on Michael alone. He needs our support. The room was filled with determination as they planned their strategy. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire was not idle. Kalar and his team were back in their ship, reviewing footage from the attack. The sight of Michael's chilling movement sent shivers down Kalar's spine. He is more than just a human, Kalar said, anger flashing in his eyes. He is a nightmare that we need to control. In a dark corner of the Empire's ship, a scientist named Dr. Vex watched the footage closely. He was fascinated by Michael's resilience. If we can understand what makes him so powerful, we might be able to replicate it, he murmured to himself. Dr. Vex was known for his strange experiments, and this time he had a dark plan in mind. Back on Earth, Sarah's team trained tirelessly. They practiced fighting techniques, focusing on teamwork and coordination. Each day they grew stronger, but deep down, they knew they were up against a powerful enemy. We need to find Michael and convince him to join us, Sarah said, her voice filled with hope. He is our best chance. As night fell, Sarah and her team set out to find Michael. They drove through the dark streets, searching for any sign of him. The moon shone brightly, casting eerie shadows that made them jump. Stay alert, Sarah reminded her team. We don't know what we might encounter. Michael stepped back, considering their offer. The team held their breath, waiting for his response. Finally, he turned and gestured for them to follow him. Sarah smiled, knowing that they had made progress. They walked through the dark streets, Michael leading the way. He moved like a shadow, his presence both powerful and intimidating. The team followed closely, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. They were no longer just ordinary people. They were part of something much bigger. As they reached a hidden spot in the woods, Michael stopped. He turned to face them, and the team gathered around him. This is where we will plan our defense, Sarah said. We need to be ready for whatever the Empire throws at us. Michael watched silently as they laid out their plans. They discussed tactics and strategies, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Sarah felt a sense of unity growing among them, strengthened by Michael's presence. Back on the Empire's ship, Kalar and Dr. Vex prepared their next move. We need to capture Michael and study him, Dr. Vex said, his voice filled with excitement. If we can understand his abilities, we can create our own version of him, an unstoppable weapon. Kalar nodded, feeling a sense of urgency. We can't let him escape again. We will send a team of elite soldiers to deal with him. He smiled darkly, envisioning their victory. This time, we will show the humans the true power of the Empire. As the sun rose, the team continued to train with Michael. They learned to channel their fear into strength, just as he did. Each day brought new challenges, but they pushed through, determined to be ready. They felt a strange bond forming with Michael, who seemed to protect them like a guardian. The day of the battle arrived, and the team stood at the edge of their hidden base, ready for the fight of their lives. Sarah looked at her team and Michael, feeling a mix of fear and hope. Remember, we fight for each other. Together we are strong, she said, her voice steady. Michael stood beside her, his presence reassuring. As they waited, a loud noise echoed in the sky. Dark ships appeared, blotting out the sun. The Empire had returned, and Kalar was leading the charge. Prepare for battle, he shouted, his voice filled with anger. "Today, we will take down Michael Myers and crush the humans once and for all." The team quickly took their positions, weapons ready. Sarah felt her heart racing as the ships landed, their doors opening to reveal the elite soldiers. The Empire's forces were ready for a fight, and this time they had come prepared. Michael stepped forward, his eyes locked on the approaching soldiers. He moved with a fierce determination, ready to protect his new allies. The team stood behind him, drawing strength from his presence. As the first soldiers emerged, the battle began. Michael charged forward, his movements swift and precise. He fought with an intensity that shocked everyone. The elite soldiers had never faced an opponent like him, and they struggled to keep up. Sarah and her team joined the fight, working together to take down the soldiers. They moved as one, supporting each other as they faced the overwhelming enemy. The sounds of clashing weapons and shouting filled the air as the battle raged on. Kalar watched from a distance, anger boiling inside him. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Michael was fighting with an unstoppable force, and the humans were holding their ground. "We need to take him down!" he shouted to his soldiers. As the battle intensified, Kalar and his remaining assassins moved in closer. They had one goal, to capture Michael. Kalar aimed his weapon at him, ready to pull the trigger. But Sarah spotted him and shouted, "Look out, Michael!" Michael turned just in time to see Kalar, but instead of fear, he felt anger. With a swift movement, he lunged at Kalar, knocking the weapon from his hand. The two engaged in a fierce struggle, grappling with each other. Sarah watched, her heart pounding. "We need to help him!" she yelled to her team. Together, they rushed toward Michael, ready to assist him in taking down Kalar. As they fought, the air was filled with a mix of determination and chaos. The ground shook beneath their feet as Michael unleashed his fury. He was no longer just a man. He was a force of nature, driven by a primal instinct to protect. With the combined strength of Michael and the team, they pushed back against the Empire's forces. Kalar, realizing he was outmatched, tried to retreat, but it was too late. Michael cornered him, and in one swift motion, he took Kalar down. The remaining soldiers, seeing their leader defeated, began to flee. The humans cheered, filled with a sense of victory. They had faced the Empire and emerged stronger than ever. As the dust settled, Sarah and her team gathered around Michael. They were breathless, their hearts racing from the battle. "We did it!" one of the team members shouted, excitement filling the air. Michael stood silently, watching the victory unfold. He had fought not just for himself, but for those who stood beside him. The bond they had formed was stronger than any fear, and together they had faced the darkness. But deep down, everyone knew that the Empire would return. Kalar had been defeated, but the war was far from over. Sarah looked at Michael, determination in her eyes. "We must prepare for the next battle," she said. "Together we will stand strong." Michael nodded, his silent agreement echoing in the air. They had become a team, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Back in the Galactic Empire, a dark cloud of fear loomed over the command center. Kalar, the once proud leader of the assassination squad, sat in his chair, his face twisted with anger and disbelief. He had never expected to be defeated by a mere human. Michael Myers had become a nightmare that haunted him, and now he felt the weight of that fear pressing down on him. "Get me Dr. Vex!" Kalar shouted, his voice echoing in the cold metallic room. The walls were lined with screens displaying various images of the battle, each one reminding him of his failure. The defeat had shaken the entire Empire, and he knew he needed a new plan. Moments later, Dr. Vex hurried into the room, clutching a tablet filled with data. He had been studying the footage from the battle and was determined to find a solution. "Kalar, we must understand what makes Michael so powerful," he said, his eyes wide with excitement. "If we can harness that power, we can create an army capable of defeating him." Kalar nodded, his mind racing. "Yes, we need to capture him. But how? He is unlike any human we have encountered. He fights with a ferocity that is terrifying." He slammed his fist on the table, frustration bubbling over. "We cannot afford another failure." Dr. Vex looked thoughtful. "What if we create a trap? We can lure Michael into a situation where he feels he must act alone. He won't expect it, and that will give us the advantage." His eyes sparkled with a hint of madness, the kind that came from years of working on dangerous experiments. Kalar leaned forward, intrigued. "A trap? Tell me more." Dr. Vex explained his plan. "We will set a fake target, something Michael cares about. When he shows up to protect it, we will strike. We will have our best soldiers hidden, ready to ambush him. It will be a perfect way to catch him off guard." Kalar smirked, the anger in his eyes replaced with a glimmer of hope. "Yes, that could work. Let's make it happen." He clapped his hands, calling for his officers to gather. "We will execute this plan at once." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Sarah and her team were celebrating their hard-fought victory. They had gathered in a small community center to discuss their next steps. Laughter and excitement filled the room, but Sarah felt a shadow lurking in the back of her mind. "Do you think they will come back?" Sarah asked, looking around at her team. They had all been through so much together, and she knew the Empire would not take their defeat lightly. Jake, her brave teammate, shook his head. "We showed them what we're made of. They won't come back anytime soon. We need to keep training, though, just in case." Michael stood silently in the corner, listening to their conversation. He had become a part of their team, but he still carried a heavy burden. He knew the Empire would not rest until they captured him. The thought filled him with an uneasy feeling. "Michael, what do you think?" Sarah asked, pulling him into the conversation. "Do you believe they will return?" Michael's gaze met hers, and for a moment, she could see the pain and determination in his eyes. He nodded slowly. The message was clear. The fight was not over. "Then we must prepare," Sarah declared, her voice strong. "We cannot let fear hold us back. We need to stay united and ready for anything." As the team discussed their training strategies, the atmosphere shifted. They were no longer just a group of individuals. They had become a family, bonded by their shared experiences. Each member felt a sense of duty to protect one another, especially Michael, who had fought valiantly for them. Back on the Empire's ship, Dr. Vex began preparing the trap. He ordered his best soldiers to gather equipment and weapons, ensuring they were ready for the ambush. Kalar watched with a fierce intensity, eager to regain his lost honor. "We will show them what true power looks like," he growled. "This time, Michael will not escape." Dr. Vex worked tirelessly, his mind racing with possibilities. He knew that capturing Michael could turn the tide of the war. If they could replicate his abilities, the Empire would become unstoppable. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. "We need to make the fake target something he can't resist," Dr. Vex said, pacing back and forth. "Perhaps a group of humans he cares about? Or maybe an important location that symbolizes Earth's resistance?" Kalar rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "What about the community center? It's where they gather, and we know Michael has formed bonds with them. If we attack there, he will come running." "Yes," Dr. Vex exclaimed. "We'll set the trap at night when they least expect it. It will be perfect." The two worked late into the night, finalizing their plan. Kalar's anger fueled his determination, and Dr. Vex's excitement drove him to create the perfect bait for Michael. As the sun set on Earth, Sarah and her team prepared for their evening training session. The community center was bustling with energy, filled with laughter and chatter. The team had invited the townspeople to join them, building a sense of community and trust. "Tonight we focus on teamwork," Sarah instructed, her voice rising above the noise. "We need to learn to fight together, to protect one another." Michael stood at the back, watching as the others paired up to practice. He felt a strange mix of emotions, fear for their safety and pride in their determination. They had accepted him, the monster, and he had to protect them. As they trained, the atmosphere grew tense. The team could feel that something was off, but they didn't know what it was. Sarah looked at Michael, sensing his unease. "Are you all right?" she asked softly. Michael nodded, but his eyes betrayed his thoughts. He knew danger was lurking nearby, and it was only a matter of time before the Empire struck again. Later that night, as the team gathered for a break, Jake spoke up. "We should keep watch. I feel like something bad is coming." The others nodded, agreeing with his instincts. Michael stood up, his presence commanding attention. "I will take the first watch. I can sense danger. If the Empire comes, I will protect you." His voice was steady, and everyone felt a sense of comfort knowing he was watching over them. As the night grew darker, the team settled in, keeping their eyes peeled for any signs of trouble. They shared stories, laughter, and memories, trying to ease the tension. But deep down, they all knew the truth. The Empire was coming. Meanwhile, Kalar and Dr. Vex positioned their troops around the community center, hidden in the shadows. They waited patiently, ready to unleash their trap. Kalar felt a surge of confidence as he watched the humans from afar. "Tonight we take Michael and show the universe our power," he whispered to himself. As midnight approached, the tension grew thicker. The air was still, and the only sounds were the rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of crickets. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the night. The Empire had launched their attack. Kalar's soldiers charged forward, weapons drawn, ready to take down their targets. "Now!" Kalar shouted, leading the charge into the community center. Inside, Sarah's team jumped to their feet, their hearts racing. "It's happening!" Sarah yelled. "Everyone get ready!" Michael's instincts kicked in. He moved swiftly toward the door, ready to confront the threat. "Stay back!" he commanded. "I will handle this." As the soldiers burst into the community center, chaos erupted. The team quickly formed a defensive line, working together to fend off the attackers. Sarah led the charge, her determination shining through. "We won't let them take us!" she shouted, rallying her team. Michael fought alongside them, his movements fluid and powerful. He took down enemy soldiers one by one, striking with precision and strength. Fear washed away as they fought together, united in their goal to protect their home. But the numbers were overwhelming. Kalar and Dr. Vex had come prepared, and they were not backing down. Kalar spotted Michael and charged at him, fueled by rage and desperation. "Tonight you will fall!" he screamed, lunging at Michael with a weapon drawn. Michael turned, ready to face his adversary. The two clashed, their battle echoing through the community center. As they fought, the air crackled with tension, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The fight continued, the team doing their best to fend off the Empire's forces. They fought with everything they had, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Sarah spotted Dr. Vex lurking in the shadows, furiously working on something. "We need to stop him!" she yelled to her team. "He's the mastermind behind this attack." Together they made their way toward Dr. Vex, determined to end the threat once and for all. With Michael battling Kalar, the team faced Dr. Vex, ready to fight back. The battle raged on, filled with chaos and desperation. But in the heart of it all, Michael stood strong, fighting for the ones he had come to care for. The outcome of this fight would determine their fate, and he was ready as Kalar and Michael fought. The atmosphere in the community center became electric. Sarah, Jake, and the others rallied together, forming a united front against the Empire's soldiers. They fought with determination, their skills honed from countless hours of training. Each member knew their role, and together they were a force to be reckoned with. Jake spotted a group of soldiers trying to flank them. "We need to hold the line!" he yelled, moving toward the threat. With quick reflexes, he tackled one of the soldiers, taking them down and grabbing their weapon. He turned to his teammates. "Cover me while I deal with the others." Meanwhile, Sarah fought beside Michael, her heart racing. She saw the way he moved, graceful and powerful, striking down enemies with precision. She felt a mix of fear and admiration for him. "Michael, watch your back!" she shouted as another soldier lunged at him. Michael turned just in time to deflect the blow, countering with a fierce punch that sent the soldier crashing to the ground. He looked at Sarah, a hint of gratitude in his eyes. "Stay close. We need to protect each other," he replied, his voice steady amidst the chaos. As the fight intensified, Kalar found himself growing more frustrated. He had underestimated the human's strength and resilience. "You should have stayed hidden, human!" he growled, lunging at Michael with renewed fury. But Michael was ready. He sidestepped the attack and countered with a powerful kick that sent Kalar stumbling. "I'm not afraid of you," Michael replied, his voice filled with determination. "You'll have to do better than that." The team continued to push back against the Empire's soldiers, but they were still outnumbered. Sarah shouted orders, directing her friends to cover each other. "Don't let them separate us," she urged, her heart pounding as she fought to protect the community they had built together. As the battle raged on, Dr. Vex watched from the shadows, furiously typing on his tablet. He was determined to activate his secret weapon, a device designed to immobilize Michael. "This will end now," he muttered, his eyes narrowing with focus. "With this technology, I'll ensure you will never threaten the Empire again." But as he prepared to unleash his trap, Sarah noticed him. "Dr. Vex! We need to stop him!" she shouted to her team, pointing toward the mad scientist. The others nodded, understanding the urgency of the situation. "Let's go!" Jake yelled, charging toward Dr. Vex with Sarah and Michael close behind. They fought through the remaining soldiers, determined to reach him before he could activate the device. Just as they approached, Dr. Vex pressed a button on his tablet, and a bright beam of energy shot toward Michael. The beam crackled with power, aiming to immobilize him. "Now you will see the true power of the Galactic Empire!" Dr. Vex exclaimed, grinning with excitement. But Michael was faster. He leaped aside, narrowly avoiding the blast. The energy beam struck a nearby wall, causing an explosion that rocked the community center. Debris flew everywhere, and the ground shook beneath their feet. "Watch out!" Sarah yelled, trying to shield her teammates from the falling rubble. With a fierce determination, Michael charged at Dr. Vex, dodging enemy soldiers in his path. He could feel the fear radiating from the scientist, and it fueled his resolve. "You won't win!" Michael shouted, his voice powerful as he closed the distance. Dr. Vex panicked, desperately typing on his tablet to activate more defenses. But he was too late. Michael reached him in a heartbeat, grabbing him by the collar and lifting him off the ground. "You think your tricks will work on me?" Michael growled, his eyes blazing with intensity. "Please!" I can help you," Dr. Vex stammered, fear evident in his voice. "I can give you power beyond your wildest dreams. Just let me go." Michael stared into Dr. Vex's eyes, weighing his options. He could feel the urgency of the battle around him. "You've caused enough pain. It's time to end this," he said, ready to take action. Just then, Kalar charged at Michael from behind, wielding his weapon with deadly intent. "Fool! You will pay for your arrogance!" he yelled, anger fueling his every move. But Sarah saw Kalar approaching and shouted, "Michael, behind you!" Without hesitation, she jumped in front of Michael, putting herself between him and Kalar. "No!" she yelled, defiant and brave. Michael's heart raced as he saw Sarah standing strong. In that moment, he felt an overwhelming urge to protect her. "Get down!" he shouted, pushing her to the side as he turned to face Kalar. Kalar swung his weapon, aiming for Michael's head, but Michael ducked just in time. He countered with a punch that sent Kalar staggering backward. "You will not hurt anyone else," Michael declared, channeling all his strength into one final blow. As Kalar regained his footing, he lunged at Michael once more, but Michael was ready. He sidestepped the attack and delivered a powerful kick, sending Kalar crashing into a wall. The impact left Kalar dazed, his pride shattered. Meanwhile, Jake and the others had reached Dr. Vex. "Stop what you're doing!" Jake shouted, grabbing the tablet from the scientist's hands. "You're not going to hurt anyone else!" Dr. Vex tried to snatch it back, but Jake held it high above his head, out of reach. "You can't stop this! The Empire will never fall!" Dr. Vex screamed, panic in his voice. But Sarah stepped forward, her eyes fierce. "We're not afraid of you or your empire. This ends here!" With a swift motion, she snatched a nearby weapon and aimed it at Dr. Vex. "Now, tell us how to stop your device." Seeing his plan unraveling, Dr. Vex stammered, I can't. You don't understand." Michael turned to them, breathing heavily from the battle. "We don't need to understand. We just need to end this." At that moment, Kalar stumbled to his feet, his eyes burning with rage. "You think you've won?" he bellowed, gathering his strength. "I will not let you take the Empire from me." Michael felt a surge of anger and resolve. He turned to Sarah and the others. "We fight together. We protect each other." The team nodded, feeling the bond of friendship and determination strengthen among them. With a roar, Kalar charged at Michael once more, but this time the team was ready. They surrounded him, each member supporting Michael. Jake delivered a swift kick to Kalar's side while Sarah struck at his knees. Michael saw the opportunity and delivered a devastating blow that sent Kalar crashing to the ground for the last time. "Enough!" Kalar cried, realizing he was defeated. "This is not over! The Empire will come back!" He crawled away, trying to escape the relentless teamwork that had bested him. Michael stood tall, looking down at Kalar. "Let them come. We will be ready." The determination in his voice was unwavering. As the battle subsided, the remaining soldiers began to flee, realizing they were outmatched. The community center, once filled with fear, now buzzed with energy and victory. Sarah looked around at her team, her heart swelling with pride. "We did it! Together!" she cheered, tears of joy filling her eyes. Jake slapped Michael on the back, grinning widely. "You were amazing, man! We couldn't have done it without you." Michael felt a warmth in his chest at their praise. He had fought for them, and in return, they had accepted him as one of their own. He turned to Sarah, a small smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "Thank you for believing in me," he said quietly. As they caught their breath, they knew that this battle had changed everything. The Galactic Empire had learned that they could not simply crush Earth and its people. Michael had become a symbol of hope and strength, a true protector. But deep down, they all knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not give up easily, and they would have to remain vigilant. They had forged a bond stronger than fear, and together they would face whatever came next. The night may have brought chaos, but it also brought hope. And as the stars twinkled above them, Michael and his friends stood ready to defend their world against any threat that might arise. The community center was a battleground. The air was thick with dust, the sounds of battle echoing everywhere. Michael stood at the center, his heart pounding in his chest. Around him, Sarah, Jake, and the others prepared for the final showdown against Kalar and the Galactic Empire. They had fought hard, but now was the moment to finish what they started. Kalar, the alien leader, was wounded, but not defeated. He glared at Michael, his eyes full of rage. "You think you can defeat the Galactic Empire? You are just a monster!" Kalar shouted, his voice filled with anger. Michael took a deep breath. He knew the stakes were high. "I may be a monster," he replied calmly, "but I'm also a protector. I will do whatever it takes to keep my friends safe." He glanced at Sarah, who nodded with encouragement. The fire in her eyes reminded him of why he was fighting. Just then, the doors of the community center burst open. More soldiers flooded in, armed and ready to fight. The team had prepared for this moment, but the odds seemed stacked against them. Jake looked at Michael and Sarah, fear and determination mixed on his face. "We need to hold them off! We can't let them reach the civilians."